Jackson Smith and Jigba, he comes in second year, certainly doesn't have as many pelts on the horse or the wall as DK Metcalf, and seems to kind of become the focal point of the offense as the season goes along. And you look at it, and DK Metcalf 60 receptions, and Pete did a good job here. I mean, DK Metcalf, 7.2 targets a game last year. That's 26 in the NFL, right? That's not going to cut it for that kind of guy. Like you said, you got to find ways just to appeal to him, to appease him a little bit. Like, oh, here you go. Hey, we're trying, just to keep him mentally engaged. And I think there was some times last year where you watched some games, you felt like he was frustrated that the ball hadn't come his way in the first quarter or the first half. And he's had enough of that, I'm guessing. And, between that and maybe he's already asked for a new contract or a spicing up of the contract of Seattle, and he didn't like the answer he got there. Maybe that's what's all led to this point. But, yeah, crazy day. Did not think this was going to be happening. I really didn't, especially after John Schneider's answer last week. I kind of put it back in my back part of my brain again, was like, all right, this is done. This won't happen.
Well, that shows that you weren't reading PFT over the weekend, because we had a story about this Packers possibility for DK Metcalf, and the chatter there was that they would send their first-round pick, I believe it's 23rd overall, plus one of their young receivers that hasn't quite panned out the way they'd hoped, like a Romeo Doubs, to the Seattle Seahawks for DK Metcalf.
I
and
can
that's
see
the
that.
other side of it. What would the Seahawks want? My first thought was, when you look at Deebo Samuel going for a 5 and Metcalf's going to want a big contract, I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's realistic to expect a 3. But Diana Rossini of The Athletic just reported, and this comes from Pete, who's plugging it into the document as we do it, that the Seahawks want a 1 and a 3. Now, that may be the opening price, a 1 and a 3, and DK wants $30 million a year. I don't think a 1 and a 3.
I don't know if that happens either. Maybe I
don't think that's going to happen.
Maybe a late first rounder. Maybe if you got to pick like where the Packers are. Maybe I do think DK Metcalf is substantially better than Deebo Samuel. There's more that you could do in the offense, or yes, there's more you can do with DK Metcalf as the pure wide receiver, and he's more of a dangerous threat that way. And he's a guy that does change coverages at times, because it's like, wait, we're a team that's got 2 smaller corners. Oh, no, our small corner's going to get run over by DK Metcalf. We better help him out a little bit. Or, hey, he can still fly, as we know, and he could just beat us deep. So it's a second down or third down and long. We got to protect against him going deep and doing that. We know that's not an issue with Deebo Samuel. So that's where it puts him in a little bit of a different stratosphere that way. You're going to be able to watch film on DK Metcalf as compared to Deebo Samuel and go, damn, no, he can still run away from people. He can still do special things with the ball in his hands. And I think that's where they'll be able to command it. I don't know if they can get that first rounder, but I would think first, maybe late first, second rounder, they might be able to do that for a guy like DK Metcalf. I do. Maybe I'm wrong, though, Mike. Maybe I am.
Well, I look at it this way. DK Metcalf has the potential to be great. And what complicates the trade negotiation, because he hasn't been used to his full ability, it makes it harder for the Seahawks to
say, hey, he's awesome.
Objective case.
Right. So let's go back in history. A.J. Brown got traded for what? Multiple first-rounders?
No, it was one first rounder.
Okay.
It was a first-rounder that became Treylon Burks.
That's
Boom,
right.
Just like that.
And there was something else added to it, though, right? They might have had a middle round.
So.
But he was younger, so I can understand.
Maybe.
I can understand that. Okay. And then we have Devontae Adams, right? Which was the Raiders-Packers trade, which was also a first-rounder, too, right? And then maybe one other pick involved in that as well. So, from that standpoint, he's in that somewhat stratosphere. There's no major injury issues there as far as that I can remember that are major. He certainly doesn't look like there's a hitch in his giddy up running or doing anything like that. So, yeah, I think I could – the problem will be the contract, like you said, and that it's going to, year 7 of his career, and that'll scare people a little bit, and that usually lessens your value because now the team goes, well, after 2 years, he might not be the same guy. We're going into year 10. It might not be the same here. I don't know. And that will hurt his value as well as compared to A.J. Brown, who was in the prime of his career when he was traded. So, but I still think it's going to be something substantially better than Deebo Samuel.
1 and a 3.
1 and a 3. I thought there was something else.
It was the 18th overall pick and the 101st overall pick.
Gotcha.
In 2022 during the draft, a 1 and a 3, and that may be where the Seahawks opener is coming from. That's what A.J. Brown went for. That's what DK Metcalf should go for. And look, typically people don't lead with their bottom lines. Now, that might not be universal in today's NFL, where, you don't put your best number on the table
right.
out of the gates because you're going to get squeezed off of it.
Right.
So 1 and a 3 becomes a 1 maybe. Maybe it does become a late first-round pick. And I two other quick observations.
Yeah.
One, it made me think of the Randy Moss trade because it's like that's the ultimate receiver freak show.
Yeah.
He got traded, and it turns out it was almost 20 years to the day.
Wow.
It was March 2 of 2005. And that was one of the first things that put PFT on the map because we were reporting that Moss could be traded, and all the Vikings fans were like, oh, come on, you're just making shit up. Okay. Okay. And then lightning struck.
Boom.
And Moss got traded.
Raiders.
For the 7th overall pick for Napoleon Harris, a failed bust of a first-round linebacker, and a 7th-round pick. That's it. That's all it took for the Vikings and the Raiders to get the deal done. And in hindsight, are you kidding me? But it got to the point where they just
it wasn't pretty, right?
Anymore.
Exactly. That's right. It was a different set of scenario. But yeah, it'll be interesting. And yeah, I don't think they can command the same thing that maybe A.J. Brown. I think A.J. Brown's a little bit better of a player than DK Metcalf, and I don't mean that in any disrespectful way.
That's okay.
But
We're not
that's
gonna
just
tell
my
you
thought.
said it.
Well, yeah, but I still think DK Metcalf's awesome, right? I do. I don't want that to be forgotten about here. But yeah, I don't think it's going to get the same as A.J. Brown, Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, just because of the contract. Yeah, sure. I know those guys had that as well. But also, I think that where he is at the point of his career, I think that lessens it a little bit. But I still think a late first round type of team that's involved in this, yeah, I think it's realistic to think that the Seattle Seahawks could get that pick. I do think it's realistic. Especially you get a bidding war, and you might get that with this guy, right?
That's the key.
Yeah.
That's one of the things. Two quick points. It doesn't matter if you're ready to trade the guy if you get multiple teams. And the one thing, when we had Nick Caserio on last week, the GM of the Texans, I wanted to tell him either on or off the air that he came up with the best trade approach that I've ever seen,
Definitely.
especially given that Deshaun Watson hasn't done jack diddly squat since he was traded 3 years ago. You pre-qualify teams. You tell them this is what it's going to take if you're the team to whom the player gets traded, and then it's between the teams and the player to work it all out. And you just say, this is what it's going to take. This is it. And if you have multiple teams that want to do it, you got to pay the cover charge to get in the club. And if you don't, that's fine. The others will. That's the best way to pull it off. And maybe something like that will happen. But you don't need to have the leverage that comes from, screw it, we'll just keep him if you have multiple teams that really want a guy.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing to keep in mind, and this gets back to the A.J. Brown trade. The best time to do it, and this tells me that, the Seahawks probably aren't thrilled that this came out the way it did, and they probably aren't happy it came out the day it did when they're trying to celebrate Tyler Lockett.
Yeah, no question.
But if you're going to do this trade, the best time to do it is when the highest pick you're acquiring is on the clock. Because you don't want to drop at pick number 23 2 months before the draft, and everybody knows you've got that pick now, and people are going to be thinking, well, they may be looking for a receiver. We better jump them. Now, in hindsight, it would have been better for the Titans if somebody had jumped them to take Treylon Burks. That's a different story. But the way the Titans did it was theoretically perfect.
Right.
It all happened while they were on the clock, and they surely knew about it in advance. But everybody keeps their mouth shut. They get it done. Boom. You have a clear shot at whoever you want without fear of being jumped. That's always the best way to do a trade if it involves draft picks. And it's kind of too late for that. I feel like this is going to happen quickly. I don't think this is going to linger.
I agree.
Until the Seahawks are on the clock.
Yeah.
Or whoever they're trading him to is on the clock with their highest pick.
This has the feel of the player, the agent know there's more than one team that are willing to make a deal. It does. And I'm with you and the fact that I think this will happen pretty quickly. I think I said that before when we kind of started talking about the subject. Again, there's just not that many of these type of guys to go around. You talk about it all the time. What you just brought up is the greatest damn story and warning in the history of football. Wait, hey, we'll trade A.J. Brown and we'll get Treylon Burke. Yeah, it's their second crick in the neck of the show here that we're doing. But yeah, we'll replace this awesome one and we'll just get a new awesome one. No problem. That's easy to do. And you make fun of that all the time, and you're right to. You got one. It's proven. You've seen it. Man, there's value in that. I know we all like the college new young shiny guy who's cheap and all that, but damn, let me just say, I bet you the Tennessee Titans wish they had A.J. Brown back. Let me just tell you that much, all right?
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.